Hello and welcome to the summer 2018 Wave Race 64 rankings broadcast. This is a live list reveal, and for those of you guys who are in the chat, thank you so much for joining. We've got quite a few players here in the chat talking. I do have the stream chat above the live version, so definitely feel free to get involved in the conversation today. I will definitely be happy to explain my reasoning behind why everyone got the placing that they deserved, and I do try to update this list every 6 months or so. So it's usually pretty well up to date around every 6 months. The last one was in July. Actually, no, that's wrong. The last one was in January. I knew it was a month that started with J. Alright. But I'm ShibbyPod. I play Wave Race. I usually moderate in the chat room. I have not been doing my moderating duties. I have been taking a little bit of time off to kind of get some other things in order, but that's beside the point. This summer, we have a lot of things coming up, including the very next day after this, the Wave Race 64 Olympics are starting. So definitely check that out, you guys, because that's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun for all the players. I think we're going to have a lot of streamers playing, so a lot of Wave Race to watch when you're not able to play. And hopefully you're able to play, and the other guys will be able to watch. Join us in the Discord. We have chat like live all day, almost every day. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Modal, for the for the host there. I'm looking for that browser source. I don't have it on, so I'm just gonna add it. It'd be nice to see the new followers and stuff like that during this. So we'll have that up in this corner. Modal with the subscription. Hey, dude. Thank you. That's a 10-month in a row. Dr. Fish, thank you for just posting that Discord link, because that is a invite to our chat in the Discord that I was just talking about. But we've got some things to discuss today, and to get things started, why don't we do this? We'll pull down the music a little bit, because we got to get everybody in the mood for something really hype. Really hype. Like I always say, I have lost sleep over this list in the past. This one is not an exclusion. I've gained I've lost a lot of weight. Gained a little bit of a drinking habit. All because of this list. You wouldn't believe what I go through to put 10 people in order. It's taxing. It's tax season here in Wave Race. So, let's try to chill some things out a little bit. As I like to, I start just by saying this list is arbitrary. Please don't be upset by what you see on the list. If you wished to be ranked higher, or if you aren't on it at all and you wish that you were, all I can say is that the players who have played the most are the ones who will end up finding results on this list, because that's what it is going to take, especially from here on out, is consistent results, and playing well. Playing often is going to help you a lot as well. So with that being said, I'd kind of like to get into the list, starting with the tier 2 honorable mentions. And there's arguments for all 4 of these players that I'm going to reveal that they could be in tier 1. They could be in tier 1. They're very good players. And here's the list. I have Baba Ganoush has kept his spot. Bunta Fujiwara, also known as Bunta, he has kept his spot. Stone Cold Hard on the verge of losing it and came back to us in this last season and earned his spot back pretty much. He never lost it, but he had a close call and he came back and he put in some times that were really worthwhile. And then Pancakes, a new addition to this community. There's an argument for all 4 of these players to be up into the next tier, and I would say especially Pancakes. He was very borderline. Honestly, Pancakes is one of the best new players with Mariner, which is really impressive. I think his biggest drawback was that he was playing the Jetter courses with Mariner for too long and avoided getting some PBs that he probably ought to have earned already, you know. But he is definitely a player to watch out for here in the future. He's a Mariner boy, as we call them. The players who excel with Mariner, you know. Yeah. You can sit back in your seats here. Just some notable times by some of these players. Of course, Baba Kanoosh, one of our moderators. He's been around in the moderator team for over a year now. And he has a 103 on Sunny Beach, as well as the benchmark 1 lap, which is like 20.499 or better. He's got both of those benchmarks with ease. And he doesn't play all that often, so, but being such an active part of the community and being like a successful player at what he does definitely earns him an HM spot on this list. Bunta, same can be said for him because he has a wide variety on his spreadsheet, and he is gaining skill when he does play. I know he's on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but nowhere near being considered like an inactive, you know what I mean? And Stone Cold, very strong showing so far this year. With he already had a full timesheet and he's been strengthening that timesheet quite a bit. We do love Baba Kanoosh around here, that's for sure. So, this next one. We gotta dull the music out a little bit. Because right now, I am going to reveal the 10th place inside of the top 10 before I do the tier 1 honorable mentions. Before I do them. And it's going to add a little suspense this way, because this was an extremely close call. And someone... This is going to be funny after I explain something. Why don't I do that first? Why don't I explain this first? There are a few players that I'm not going to rank on this list. And see, the thing about them is that these players could easily be ranked. I'm not ranking them anymore until they prove otherwise, that they deserve and belong on this list. And this is the change that I was talking about. So I'm gonna play a song here that I think just kind of fits. Let's do nope. Sure. So I'm actually putting 3 players on a temporary inactive list. I'll give you $1 if you can guess all 3 of the players. And wow, Quick Person is here. That's awkward. Except for it's not awkward, because Quick Person, you're not on this list. You are inactive, but your times hold up, whereas these 3 players, Admiral Smith, Analogism, and Ryan Lockwood, are being removed this time from the leaderboards. And the main reason isn't that they're not good. All 3 of these players could easily be ranked in the top 10. They definitely could be in the top 10. But we are missing so many submissions and so many videos and activity in general from these 3 players. Admiral Smith, He's easily one of the better players in the group of us, but with just lack of gameplay. And I liked how last year it was kind of cheeky and he came back and just played a little bit and got a couple of PBs and like, you know, that was good enough to be ranked last year, but this year it's not good enough to be ranked anymore. So that's also an opportunity for these 3 players to come back and play the other courses that they haven't submitted on, submit videos for these times. I cannot stress that enough. Submit videos for these times, and they will have success. I know that they will have success, but it doesn't make sense anymore when we value having so many good times and a good spread and to be active lately. So these 3 players are being put on our inactive mentions. It's not really officially a part of the list, but I wanted to include them in this video because they have always been on the list in the past, and people might wonder where they've gone. They're inactive, and they lack the submissions to really meet the qualifications anymore. That being said, I know if they played those levels and submitted times on them, they would be ranked among us. So that's my explanation. I hope that makes sense. These are our best players who are the least active. By far, these are our best players who are the least active. So by that is definitely worth a congratulations. And we do want you guys to come back. And Smith was in here earlier, and I know he wants to come back. I think he wants to come back. I hope he does. He's got great times, and overall just really good, a good spread on what he knows, and we hope to see him branch out into the things that he might not know all that well yet, you know. But yeah, that being said, we are moving in to the top 10 on the list. The top 10 Wave Race players of our current era, possibly of all time, as indicated by my digging up dirt, trying to find out info on times, on players, on their styles. I watch them play. I compare the total times, the total number of benchmark times, which are very much more significant than like the times below them. You know, I did almost forget, there is one other thing that I'm going to get into, just to add a little bit of suspense and to make a little announcement while I'm doing it. For years, we have had, for a couple of years now, maybe 3 years now, we've been using the benchmark time system. It works great, and I like it, and I want to keep it. But I want to add something to it, because it is really difficult for players to get a benchmark time, and it's really difficult for new players to even conceive getting a benchmark time until they get close to it. And so this is my exciting announcement about the change to the benchmark time. So from now on, the benchmark times are still exactly as they are. But now we are adding the standard time, which, just like the benchmark time, same concept, except it will always be 1 second worse than the benchmark time. And what is significant about this change is how we will conceive skill. Or, you know, this is now going to make something like a Sunny Beach 104 that much more significant than it used to be. Or a Sunset Bay 106 is now that much better on paper anyway, than it used to be. It's a goal for players to go for when they haven't had it yet. You know, this is now the case for Marine Fortress 109. That is now a standard, and it's going to be written into the benchmark times list online for players to see. And when a player asks you, what should I go for like my first good time, you can tell them, get the standard on Drake Lake 112. That's a huge time for a new player. Hey, thank you for the follow, River Slinky 3916. I appreciate that.
Yes!
And did we get a sub too? Wow, amazing. Seminati with the sub. Thank you. It didn't play the sub notification, so I'll play it again. It was overlapped.
Yes! Yes!
Yes! That's right. That's right. Thank you. Meeting these standards that I've been talking about, yes, it will have an effect on your ranking more so than maybe it would have before. Like if you have a timesheet full of standards and you're facing off against somebody who has a bunch of substandard times or worse than standard times, and then like 1 or 2 benchmarks, I tend to think that having all of these standard times really helps your case because you are across the board being consistent and you're just beating out the other player numerous times. So these standard times, I will update everything online tonight in both the Discord and on the speedrun.com site. And you'll be able to see the standard time. I'm not going to be keeping track of how many players have that time like I do with the benchmark times, but it's going to be significant. And it's going to help players have goals to get to, especially when they are pre-benchmark time skill. If you have benchmark times, you know what I mean. Before you get your first benchmark time, everything seems impossible. And then when you finally break through, and you will break through, trust me, it happens. Everybody will break through. Everything starts getting a lot easier to get your next benchmark times, and really eventually the challenge becomes getting it even better, getting into the top 5, getting into the top 3. You know, it makes all of those, it makes them seem way more obtainable if you have a stepping stone. And that's what the standard is. The standard is our stepping stone to the benchmark, and it will make everything just seem more obtainable, because instead of players seeing, oh, 103 is the only thing I get credit for on Sunny Beach, why do I even play it? This is why. Because now we have a standard that is much more reachable, and when you finally get that, you'll understand, oh wow, now I'm this close to the benchmark. We can do this from here. So that's my announcement about the change to the benchmark. We are adding the standard 1 second above the benchmark time in all cases. I thought about doing other things like, oh, maybe I'll just match it up with top 10. You know, it gets really complicated. Just 1 second above. So I think everybody can pretty well understand that. So we are going to move on here to number 10. Because if I do all of the honorable mentions first and I don't get into the top 10, people can usually guess who made 10th place. And I don't like that. I would rather jump in. Let's get our feet wet here into the top 10. And how about another song here? I'm looking up a good one for this player. I know just what actually I want to use. This one. So for number 10, oh wait. Forgot who number 10 was and I almost played the wrong song. I know who number 10 is. And we're going back to, that would have been pretty funny. Hey, Andy Panther is in here. What's going on, Andy Panther? How is it going? Where is it? Where is this? Here it is. Okay. So number 10. We have one of the few players that I've actually, in real life gotten to meet. This is a cool guy. He's got a 110 on Marine Fortress here. I'll read a few of his other times off. 110.2 on Marine Fortress, 118.8 on Port Blue, 103.9 on Sunny Beach. I mean, this man has just so far, recorded 4 benchmark times out of our 24 times here on Time Trial. It's absolutely noteworthy as much as anything. If you haven't guessed it yet, we are talking about Metalhead, a new addition to the rankings, Metal_Head 420. A newcomer showing us that he is absolutely formidable in the game of Wave Race. He's recently scored things like this I'm going to switch to full game runs to mention his 933 in normal championship mode, which is third place. Third place. I know we have another good RTA player in the chat here as well. 933. And not to mention that, but he also has an 1130 on hard mode, which is 4th place. So top 4 on 2 different championship modes and quite a few benchmark times, like I mentioned, 4 of them, and he's bringing down the total time that he's got. Another really impressive thing is he has an entirely full timesheet with proof, and just a few other noteworthy times of his Sunset Bay reverse, 109.735. Oh yeah, I saw him get that in person. I was there when he got that. I can verify that, and it has video anyway. I don't need to. 112.386 on Marine Fortress reverse for 7th place. Not to mention he's got 2 other 7th places in 3-lap, both Port Blue and Twilight City. And of course, the famous Metalhead pop-off. Who can forget? Who can forget? So, congratulations, Metalhead, on a rookie debut into the top 10. With 10th place. Incredible. But not to be outdone, we also have another new player here who has been whooping ass. Quite a few new benchmark times. I do have my list here. I think that he's at 5. And he had one and lost one as well. Now, you may have already guessed it, but I'm talking about Dr. Fish, another new player, and he's making it onto number 9 on this list, which is incredible given the amount of time that he's played. And he has been exposed to high-pressure situations as well, playing at live events such as A Race Against Time. He did an all-championships race at A Race Against Time. Following my footsteps, as I have done that event and a few others before, and I was kind of like, hey, it's time for somebody else to do this, and there wasn't anybody else playing this for quite a while. Fish joins in, happily takes over some of these events, gets the name of Wave Race out there a little bit, That always helps the entire group out. It's really good to see. Absolutely good to see. And just glad to have some people joining up here into the top 10, and even in their first season, both Metalhead and Dr. Fish are in their first 6 months still of competing with us here in Wave Race 64 community. So that's just amazing for me to see that now, after I've been playing for 5+ years. I've been champ for 4, and I've seen players come and go, and usually I do not see players rise so high so fast, and especially while other players are doing it also. So it's really good to see both of you guys up here. Dr. Fish with his recent 105.9 that I featured in Kapad, and a couple of other times. He had the 121.9 on Southern Island reverse, which was the benchmark time shortly up until the release of Kapad, and we saw another player get a 120. And now I'm going to change gears here a little bit And we're going to go back to the honorable mentions, Tier 1. These are our best players that just didn't make it into the top 10 this time. That being said, they are ranked favorably against the Tier 1, the Tier 2 honorable mentions that are below them. So in Tier 1, I'll reveal the list right away here. We have Andy Panther, As Money, Gilly Guide, and Quick Persons IND. These are all in alphabetical order, these and the bottom tier. The top tier being the Andy Panther, As Money, Gilly Guide, Quick Person, and the bottom tier being Baba Ganoush, Bunto, Fujiwara, Stone Cold Hard 12, and My Oh My Pancakes. The plus, minus, or equals, or new. Plus means you went up a spot, and it will tell you how many spots you went up. The minus is minus a spot or how many spots. And equals means that you didn't move. If you're in the tiers, there's only it's like +1 to get into the tier above or -1 to get into the tier below. So those are just considered one spot. So these are four-way ties essentially. Tier 1, Andy Panther with a very formidable spreadsheet all around the board, has a few standards, has most of his impressive stuff is on reverse. However, he does have the 125 on Twilight City, which is something always to look out for. He's a strong player. As Money, overall, he's actually got an extremely strong timesheet when you consider the standard bump. He is always improving as well. He got a 114 on Southern Island, his big debut benchmark time, and of course I think he's also gotten the 105 on Sunset Bay. Good stuff. He's sitting at 3 benchmarks. I think there was a lap in there as well. So absolutely congratulations to the Tier 1 and to the Tier 2 honorable mentions. These players, honestly, the best way to get good and to be recognized above the tiers is to go for some benchmark times and just strengthen your weakest times generally. Bring those up to about where the standards are. And then anything that you have close to a benchmark, there's no excuse anymore. You need to get that benchmark time. Get your name on that list. We keep a list of the benchmark times with the players' names who have achieved those times. I update that almost every time I see a new time come in. Andy Panther says he needs to get into that top 10. You know what you need to do, man. And of all players, I am certain that Andy Panther is one of the players who can get back into the top 10. And he's been in the top 10 before. He has a much more impressive spread across all of the courses than any of our 3 inactive mentions. So he does maintain an active status because having all of the times filled remains relevant. Having that is a huge sign of relevancy. Having a few times that are impressive, but mostly an empty timesheet or missing serious video, that is that's the difference. Honestly, it's the difference. But now it looks like we are back here into our top 10, and I'm gonna find something here. Oh yeah, this will be a good one. So number 8, you're probably thinking, well, like now what are we looking at? Because now we're to a point where there becomes to, there happens to be a little bit of uncertainty from here on out. From here on up, it's like players have to really earn where they are. And you're going to best earn where you are by coming onto the scene or remaining on the scene as a strong player, having a wide assortment of benchmark times. And this next player has done exactly that. And one of the best examples is his time on Port Blue, Port Pirates, one of his debuts onto the scene, grabbing a 118.9. Just to keep things short, I am talking about Koira Hoshi. Very impressive spread of times, including the lowest standard 104.002 on Sunny Beach. That's basically a 103. Just pick up the controller, Hoshi. Just pick it up and go back. One session. He's got 104.002 on Sunny Beach. More importantly, he's got the 105.9 on Sunset Bay, a 112.1 on Drake Lake. Come on, man. You're almost there. Look at that time, 112.1. He does have that standard 109.6 on Marine Fortress, a 118.9 on Port Blue, a 125.8. These are all standards. He is a little bit weak on Glacier Coast, a 15th place, 118. It is a really tough course, and I know that he ends up actually specializing more with Mariner, or with Jetter than he does with Mariner, and that is a very tough Mariner course. But even on Southern Island, 115.2. These are all some of the lowest standard times closest to the benchmark that are out there. And of course, if I didn't mention this, he's top 7 in every reverse course. His best is Port Blue reverse. He's got 117.3. And his worst, just to throw it out there, is a 7th place 122.3 on Southern Island reverse. I mean, that was 0.3 off of benchmark up until last week when Kapad came out. So he's definitely up there. I did rank him above Fish and Metalhead, mainly because of how many top 10 times he had. His overall time was a little bit better as well. I know he didn't submit a whole lot of full game runs, but just to look at his full game runs and to try to prove my point a little bit further, 5th and 6th place on reverse and on normal, respectively. 1338 on reverse and 943 on normal. And I know those don't beat Fish, but I think the overall on the time trial, it does end up beating Fish out by not a whole lot. I think Fish will be happy with 9th, but also happy knowing how close he was to 8th, also at the same time. So that brings us to our next one here. I always love these little pauses in between because I can just talk about how I can't find any of the music I'm looking for. So this next player, I'm still going to play the same song that I played last year for this player because he's still one of my favorite players out there. We're looking at times like 103.7 on Sunny Beach, 105.6 on Sunset Bay, 111.7 on Drake Lake, just to name a few. And I think my favorite one is 124.8 on Twilight City. And just this guy has the biggest heart in the whole wave race community, and he cares so much about everybody else in the community and always helps us when we need it, helps us with technical setups, and that's not even why he's going to be ranked on this list. He's ranked on this list because he's a great wave race player. Modal, he remains in the 7th place spot for this year. He's just ridiculously consistent over multiple racing games. Most importantly, Wave Race 64. Always a good resource for knowledge when it comes to the game, getting set up for a good stream, a good quality, good moderator skills when it comes to just being a good all-around community guy. And great times in Wave Race 64. Just to go down further on the list, a top 4 106.3 on Sunny Beach reverse. A 8th place 135.9 on Twilight City reverse, and I know that's that's our benchmark still. 112.0 on Drake Lake Reverse. So of course now we know that that's a standard, so that's worth more. Speaking of standards, Glacier Coast 116.807. It's top 10. It's 8th. It's 8th place. 114.8 on Southern Island. There's no doubt still in my mind that Modal belongs on this list above Tier 1 and 2, above our inactivity. You know, he's earned his place in our top 10, and he has been rather inactive, but the full timesheet fully validates him remaining on this list. Absolutely. And undoubtedly, like Metalhead says, a well-earned spot. He de-rusted a Glacier Coast PB. Who does that? That's supposed to be the level that stops you from wanting to play. You come back to that, you come back to Wave Race after a long break, and you're like, oh, I'm going to play Glacier Coast. You play that, and you're going to be like, nah, I don't really feel like playing. No, he comes back to it, and he gets a PB. That's what we're talking about here. That's the kind of consistency this community needs. Oh, I forgot to mention his Modal's full game times. Here, I'll just do this. Reverse 3rd, Expert 5th, Normal 4th, Hard 5th, respectively 1334, 1324, that's Expert, 936 on Normal. I think that's a tie for 4th now, and 1132 on Hard. All of those on Shindu, of course. He understands, as the players above him as well understand, that Shindu is where it's at. We are to the point of the Shindu players. I think we have been on this entire list, if I'm not mistaken. All of us are playing Shindu. I'm not entirely sure if Hoshi is or not, but I'm pretty sure. No vid, no did. Dr. Fish, get that vid. So, next. This one was interesting. Actually, this was a really difficult decision to make. Oh, man. Where's my song, yo? So for this, number 6, this is another situation where I had the last 2 players swapped until kind of the last second. You know, Modal, I did actually have him at number 6 up until this week, when we had a really huge time reveal from another player who had already shown a bidding for 6th place. And I'm bringing up Androgyne. He's got a +5 next to his name because he was an honorable mention last year and he moved up all 5 spots. He lives to bop Modal. He does go for times that Modal goes for. I'm sure Modal is not like, he doesn't care that much about it, but I do want to talk a little bit about the Androgyne's times. Specifically, I want to talk about things like Sunny Beach 103.5. Like, holy crap. That's 4th place right now, and it was pretty much out of nowhere. He and I were talking about Sunny Beach a little bit earlier that day, but I didn't realize that was going to happen. You know, other than that, we are looking at incredible times also, like Sunset Bay 105.4, Drake Lake 111.8. He does have a standard in here of Port Blue 119.9, and another one with Southern Island 115.2. But that's not really the most impressive stuff. Honestly, if I'm talking about the Androgyne's most impressive times, I think this will do it. 3rd place on Sunny Beach Reverse, 106.2 benchmark. A standard of 109.7, 6th place on Sunset Bay Reverse. 111.8 on Drake Lake Reverse, that's a standard. Top 10 on Marine Fortress with 113 on Reverse. Port Blue Reverse Standard, 117. Twilight City Reverse Benchmark, 135.8. Glacier Coast Reverse Benchmark, 122.7. And Southern Island Reverse, still a top 10. It's 122.5, so it's not benchmark or standard, but it was standard last week, right? Am I right? It was. And a plethora of between 3rd and 15th place on the single lap times. He's definitely gaining skill very quickly. I have one qualm with the Androgyne, and that's recording quality. And actually this is serious, so I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. It's very important to our community in the future for us to have captured video, because recording the screen of the TV, albeit it's the best TV screen recording I've seen, that's not good enough. That sets a precedent to our new players who are going to think it's perfectly acceptable to go ahead and submit video that might even be world record quality play by recording their TV screen with a camera. That doesn't work. Bright flashes don't work right either. They blow out the color on the TV. We sometimes get submissions from this player with a corner of the screen clipped off. We're not missing like what the time says or anything extreme, but as we go further, I really hope that the moderating team decides, and unfortunately the Androgyne is on this moderating team that needs to make this decision. I hope the community decides that we need better for our recordings. Andro is too good of a player to be recording in this manner. It opens too many doors to illegitimate play. I'm not accusing the Androgyne of cheating in any way. I am going to accuse him of opening a door that could potentially have players take advantage of this method of recording for personal gain up to cheating. You know, it sets a poor precedent, and we need to eliminate TV recordings in the future. I hope he's on board with this. He's by far the best player not recording in a professional manner. He is a beast at the game, and I hope to see this turnaround, because when he does eventually beat my times, I would really like to be able to watch them in quality video. You know, I would. He's a great player and he's capable of doing it. That's what's scary. I really hope that he gets a real recording setup before he does it. But nice job to the Androgyne. He had a really good season, up 5 spots from the last season. This next one here, actually, I wanted to use another piece of music here that I've already used, but it's like synonymous with this player. So we're gonna go ahead and play it, and we're gonna start it from the beginning. So, fifth place in this one. It was really hard to pull this player down to 5th place because they are still a top performer in our group. Hayate1129. He does drop a couple of spots despite getting a world record this year. He got a world record 1 lap on Marine Fortress, and he's popped out apparently maybe even up to 5 or more 107s on Marine Fortress. That being said, he is still a bit of a specialist where he does extremely well on some courses and then maybe not quite up to par on some of the other courses where you would expect him to be. Still a lot of notable times. I have him at, it looks like, 17 benchmark times, which outdoes anybody. I think that's like 4th place in the sheer number of benchmark times that he has. Very widespread. He's got like 4th in overall time or 5th in overall time right now. I think it is 5th in overall time. And looking here, just to note a few noteworthy times: 103.7 on Sunny Beach, Sunset Bay 105.4 for 5th place, Drake Lake 111.6, Marine Fortress 107.927. You know, that one was really insane. Port Blue 118.2. Glacier Coast, 116.3, fifth place still. Just amazing. 114.5 on Southern Island. Not only is he hitting a majority of the benchmark times, he's still gaining top 5 times out of them. His worst placing on forward is 7th place. That being said, his worst placing on reverse is 12th place with the Marine Fortress reverse, 115.1. He still hasn't done the Marine Fortress dive, and as good as his run is without it, it's definitely beatable. I can see other players beating that as well, but the players understand that it's important to dive. The other players know that it's important to dive. So, yeah, a lot of good, all top 10 times across the board other than that. So Hayate maintains a spot here in the top 5. As number 5, it's actually his worst ranking in a long time, but it's nothing of his own fault. He played, he did get some good full game times as well. And he holds 3 second place times in RTA, including all championships, which is extremely difficult. That one's pretty wide open. I think a lot of people could at least get down to that 52 minute, 59 second mark. But it takes a lot of skill, and he did this kind of out of nowhere, abruptly. He does suffer a little bit more on reverse and on expert. The more difficulties, the harder difficulties, I should say, for championship mode. He has shown a little bit of struggle on those, but his last PB on either of those, anyway, was October of last year. So hopefully we see something a little bit more recent from him. Yeah, that's Hayate. We're bringing him in at 5th place this year, despite, there's definitely an argument for 4th for him, as there always is an argument between these next players for, the better spot. We're going to bring this down, and we are going to look up the next song. For the top 4 now. We are into the top 4, you guys. Actually, I can't believe it. I'm going to bring this song up. This is like the versus mode goal song, because Game and I play some versus mode, especially when we were at the SRX hotel room. I do need to give number 4 away to Game this time around. Breaking into the very top tier of players with these recent performances, like 105.3 on Sunset Bay, 111.5 on Drake Lake, 109.7 on Marine Fortress. That's what we call the standard now, of course. 118.6 on Port Blue. That was a part of Kapad. So far, I've named things that were 3rd place, 5th place, 5th place, 5th place. Twilight City recently, also a part of Kapad 2, 124.5. That's 2nd place. 6th place on Glacier Coast with 116.4. He's let me know that he has better at that, but that was the best video that he could find. A 3rd place on Southern Island with 114.3. I was looking at them side by side, and in time trial, Game had only lost like 3 records to Hayate. There were only a difference of 3 times, and those were Marine Fortress, Port Blue, and Marine Fortress 1 lap. I think were the only times that Game had not beaten Hayate on. 2nd place on everything in reverse except for Drake Lake. He's 3rd on Drake Lake with 111.8. And can you believe that that's his worst one on reverse? 111.8 on Drake Lake. Imagine thinking 111.8 on Drake Lake reverse is my worst time on reverse. Let's go down the list. 105.9 on Sunny Beach, 108.6 on Sunset Bay, 111.8 on Drake Lake, 110.5 on Marine Fortress reverse, 116.6 on Port Blue reverse, 134.9 on Twilight City with the recent tie of my 134.8. Glacier Coast reverse 121.7, only the second player to get down there. And Southern Island recently beats Mo with that 120.876 in Southern Island reverse. Just, it's been hard for people to keep up with Game or comprehend how much better he's getting and at what pace. He's been getting very good, very fast. So amazing stuff to Game. At this time, I'm going to bring the volume down on this one. And let's talk a little bit about our legends, because this has been kind of ignored for this whole time. And wanted to talk about them because we have something special today. Let me bring up our legends from the last season, and these, of course, this is like our Hall of Fame, so it's important to talk about these guys whenever I do a stream like this. Our legends, of course, are Jason Walls and Stefan Marla. Walls for the significant work that he did in the early 2000s, finding probably big achievements like the dive, and just generally being able to grind out amazing times for that era, like the 112 on Drake Lake, for example. But, you know, there's something special about another player who deserves an induction into the Legends category, and I'm extremely proud to present to you our newest legend. Only one of them this time, and someone who deserves it far more than anyone else, that I couldn't possibly induct more than one person at a time if this person was going to be one of them. By far, the player who deserves to be in our legends more than anyone else who actively plays the game is Illudude. Illudude with the first 110 on Drake Lake, probably the first 111 on Drake Lake as well. He's still getting amazing times, like the 124 recently on Twilight City. Just to bring up his times sheet, I mean, he's of legendary status, and he belongs in our Legends group. I know he's not retired, so of course he's still one of our top players even when he picks up the controller today, and his legacy extends back to maybe even before 2007. I know that he was telling us a story about how he was reading a magazine that had a tournament of Drake Lake in it, and he would submit his times to Drake Lake, but he wasn't quite good enough to beat the record times, which were like 113. And he couldn't figure out why he couldn't even get close. Well, the reason that he couldn't get close was because he was playing on PAL. And the times that he was achieving on PAL were like world records. But he didn't know. He just thought that he was bad. Well, why can't I get close to this 113? How come I can only get like 126? It's because that was insanely good. And when he transferred over to NTSC, he realized that this was his jam. So of course he's amazing at Drake Lake, but just overall in general, he is still one of the best players here in our group. And not only is he inducted into our Legends, our category of legendary Wave Race 64 players, this list is invincible. Once I put you on the list, I am not going to take you off unless it is unveiled that you had some sort of legitimacy. But these three players have no doubt had the best reputation over the longest span of time, former champions of the game in their respective eras. And Illudude will join the top three, continue to be in the top three, moving up one spot from fourth last ranking period by achieving such times as the previously mentioned 110 on Drake Lake, getting the world record also 22.8 one lap time on Drake Lake. And then just to complete the sweep also got the 111.4 on Drake Lake Reverse. All the while, definitely has some other formidable times, like a 110.8 on Sunny Beach, 105.2 for a second place on Sunset Bay. He actually did take the world record on the Sunset Bay one lap this year with a 19.6, the first 19.6 lap ever. And then, of course, maintains things like the standard 116 on Glacier Coast that was achieved about 3 years ago. So just a very strong player overall. That being said, we are looking at a rather weak list of submissions as far as quantity. I would like to see for Illu to maintain his spot in the top 3, but it may take filling out the timesheet more extensively, especially getting any times that are maybe not in the top 5 to get up to that standard, to be top 5. Not be a standard, but be top 5. I think that's the further going, that's beyond today, that's going to kind of be the expectation of remaining as a top player. We do need a full timesheet, or at least close to it. At least as close to it. As Fish just mentioned in the chat, the 13.5, the 13 minute 5 second expert time is probably still the best RTA time that has not been achieved by me specifically. A lot of the guys were talking about that in the chat today. And yeah, we do have a lot of talent in this player, number 3, Illu Dude. And I think we would all just like to see the completion of the full timesheet, I would be really excited to see that, especially given how much he has shown on a couple of levels specifically. So, in second place here, I'll pull it up here. We didn't see a lot of activity from this player, but number 2, we are giving back, of course, to Mo. This means, Mo has a much more significant quantity of times. If you look at his timesheet right now, his worst submission on forward or reverse is 4th place. And then on all of his 3 lap, except for 1, he's got a medal. So he's got 3rd on Sunny Beach, 4th on Sunset Bay, 2nd on Drake Lake, which was a former world record, extremely significant. 3rd on Marine Fortress, 3rd on Port Blue, 3rd on Twilight City, 3rd on Glacier Coast, 2nd on Southern Island. So those being just his forward submissions. By the way, all 8 of those are benchmark. Oh, if you haven't had enough benchmark times from Mo, also take into account the fact that he has all 8 single lap benchmarks on forward. And then he is missing 3 submissions on reverse, which are Sunny Beach, Drake Lake, and Glacier Coast reverse. But he's got 3rd on Sunset Bay with 108.6 benchmark. 3rd on Marine Fortress reverse, which is also formerly 2nd, both of those, 110.8 benchmark. 3rd on Port Blue reverse, 116.8 benchmark, obviously. He's got a 135.7, which I'm pretty sure he has better than that. But Mo does like to hold on to his times until he wants to show us, and when he does show us, we're always in awe of it. Just an amazing player. We hope to see more of him. We wish we could watch you stream live. That's for sure. We want to see more footage. Want to see how consistent you are when you play. I've heard good things, but seeing something and hearing about it are always 2 different things, and we always want to see a little bit more out of our top players. And Mo, just amazing. He was the first player to tie a lot of my times, like the 110 on Marine Fortress reverse. He's got that extremely difficult to get 108 on Marine Fortress. Another thing we haven't seen anything of, though, is Mo playing forward. Not forward. RTA. Championship mode. That's what we haven't seen. So we hope to see that. We definitely want to see more of that. So this brings us to our our end. We got done talking about everybody up to Mo. Mo, the most amazing player. But we are going, of course, to, this time anyway, give the... Oh, that wasn't the song I wanted. Well, we'll do this song, because this is a good song, right? We'll give myself the #1 ranking this period with, of course, a full time sheet. The worst times are Drake Lake 1 and 3 lap, which are 3rd place. And then Sunset Bay 1 lap and Drake Lake reverse are both 2nd place. But everything else up to there is 1st place currently. Going into the Olympics feeling pretty strong. Still have all the RTA records right now as well, and we're seeing a lot more contest in that now, so I am excited. I'm hoping that we have something happen where some new players are challenging me in RTA. That would be extremely fun. It would be a lot of fun to try to defend my RTA records. It would force me to play a lot more. Yeah. Mo doesn't really like RTA, so he doesn't end up playing it a lot. But the RTA times I'm looking at right now, normal mode I've got 9:21, hard mode I've got 11:08, expert mode 12:56, reverse mode 13:09, and all championships 51:20. So good times to go for, definitely, and just fill up that timesheet, especially to those of you who are looking to progress in the community and move up on the list. You know, fill out that timesheet, get video, get quality video too. Try to avoid taking video off of like a phone or a video camera straight up from the TV. Like, try to avoid that. We can do better than that. We're moving from 2018 soon into 2019, and I'd like to see a higher quality, you know, a higher expectation out of the group itself. Like, the rest of the group are the people who need to put the pressure on the players who refuse to upgrade. Like, we need capture cards. I think it's really important. I'm not just trying to be mean to 1 or 2 players by saying that. I think we really need that moving forward. We need that to move forward. So yeah, that's the rankings that I've spent so much time and energy on, and I really hope that they make sense to you guys and are a good representation of our scene. We've got so many amazing players now in comparison to what we had even 2 years ago. When I was looking at the list 2 years ago, I was struggling to fill up the top 10 list. Now I have hard times deciding, you know, where the cuts are. Who made top 10 here? Who didn't quite make it into tier 1? Or who didn't even quite make it into tier 2? Now, there are players who probably could have made it into tier 2 with maybe like 2 or 3 more PBs. But, you know, I think this is a good representation of where we're at here midway through 2018. We don't have a mathematical rankings yet where it's just sheer numbers. Like, you've submitted this and your total time is this and you're ranked by an equation of this divided by this times this, add this if you've done this. No, it's none of that. It's more of a power rankings list than a mathematical equation. You know, I see how you guys play, I get to watch you guys stream, and in the most non-judgmental way that I can, this is my judgment of you guys in the most non-judgmental way that I can do it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Of course, another reason to do this is for the content that it creates, the interest that it creates in the community, and you know, it's just, I see growing support each time I do something like this, and I always appreciate it, especially when I see you guys following and we get new subscribers or donations. You know, that just to keep in mind, that always comes right back into the Wave Race community. It allows me to put some more time into this kind of thing. It allows me to upgrade the equipment so that I can more effectively show you guys like my image here that I want to. I want the stream to look nice. I want the sound quality to be good. And that kind of stuff just always helps. You know, this equipment, of course, is not cheap, and you know, it's a hobby that I just love and enjoy doing so much. And I'm so glad that I have people that enjoy watching it too, because it helps me keep going for sure. But that's the video this time. I hope you like it. I will, of course, be updating everything here in the Discord chat immediately following this. I will go ahead and we'll be in the Discord chat, in the voice chat for the next hour or two, I'm sure. We're just kind of discussing this, debating it as we usually do. But yeah, this was fun for me, and I hope it was fun for you guys also. That being said, the Olympics start tomorrow, and I hope you guys are all pumped up for the Olympics. We are starting with what, as Dr. Fish said, we're starting with Sunny Beach and Drake Lake. So we're going to be on Sunny Beach Reverse, Drake Lake, and Drake Lake Reverse, as those are like the foremost basic stages in the game, and I think we can get a lot of good competition out of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and host somebody. This host will go to this random DKR player that I just found online, so I hope you guys like their stream. Thanks for watching, and join us in the Wave Race 64 Discord for some chat right after this.